Hey everyone, we have reached the end of September, so let's take a look at the MOCs of the month. As per usual, I'll be going to the LEGO Star Wars subreddit to look at the top 15 most upvoted LEGO Star Wars MOCs of September 2025. With that said, let's go ahead and get into it. At number 15, we have the AAT MOC version 3. Now this is a MOC that has appeared previously on this MOCs of the Month series. This is the third iteration of this model, however. I will say though, I think I like the second version better. This MOC is still phenomenal, don't get me wrong, but that middle area I feel like is getting a little too detailed. It looks extremely good, but it almost looks too good. It's starting to almost lose that LEGO feel because of how good of a model it is. I will note though that there does seem to be some gaps and some issues that occur with those extra details he included in that midsection. And honestly, I'd probably still prefer a little more of a simplified method, just so you didn't have all those gaps. However, besides that small nitpick, the rest of this build is astounding. The bottom looks great, nice and smooth, but the top head is what really amazes me. That is a perfect recreation of the AAT top cannon, and overall it's a really well done MOC with a lot of detail put into it. At number 14 is an alternative build of the V19 Torrent. Instead, this builder went and made the V-Wing. The back portion of this build translated extremely well from the set. You could tell he took the wings and those angled pieces and definitely focused in there, which was a good choice. That's the main definer of the V-Wing and what you notice right away. And that part looks spectacular. The entire cockpit and back engine as well. Very well done. You can tell he started in the back and moved forward, because the front nose of the V-Wing I would say is the area that gives it away that this is an alternative build. I'm not a huge fan of how that front nose comes together. It doesn't look bad and others might appreciate it more than me, but I'm not a big fan of it. However, as far as an alternative build goes, very well done. At number 13, we have a small turret build. At a little turret that's barely over 10 pieces, it may seem like a small MOC that doesn't have much effort put into it, but I still think it has a lot of merit. It's a great little build to have on the side, especially here in this one picture. It shows it amongst some terrain, and it definitely has some chops to appear in some MOCs. It's a really good design and has quite a bit of detail to it, with a lot of unique pieces used to give it a different shape. I especially love the red ingot piece on top, dignifying that this is a Republic turret. It also looks pretty cool because I think if you replace those legs, it actually look really similar to the recent Battlefront games turret that was included in those games for the officer, and could look very good there too. At 12th, we're revisiting another old MOC. This one is a posting of a previous MOC, the Fondor Hallcraft. It's minifigure scale, so it's big, huge, and very well done. This builder has actually finally posted instructions for this build. They were not available the first time, but now they are, so if you want this build yourself, you could actually go and get it. I will warn you though, it's going to be pricey as this is a huge build. Lots of smooth pieces, a good amount of studs still integrated though. I appreciate that because sometimes MOC builders will go a little too heavy on no studs, but here's a very good mix. The interior is a very nice touch as well, and it's not halfway done either. It's fully decked out, and this build reminds me of the Razor Crest with how well done it is inside and out. Number 11, we have a small buildable R2-D2 that reminds me of an old gift with purchase. That I believe is actually where they got the head for this build from, as obviously that is an official LEGO part from another set. However, the rest of the body they made on their own and improved upon. It's quite a good looking build. Those arms in particular use a couple pieces that I feel like I haven't ever seen before. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know where those came from. They look tremendous though in this scale and work perfectly for what the builder used them for. They even made sure to add a third leg in there for him, and it's a very good build. A little small, but that's okay. Good MOCs don't have to be huge. Following with that theme, at number 10, we actually have a small Hammerhead Corvette. I wish there was more pictures to show this off. It's kind of hard to get a good read on the profile of the build from just this overtop view, but in general it looks pretty good. And it looks like they have it perfectly nuzzled into the edge of the UCS Star Destroyer, and is actually a really great touch. It's something I want to add to my own. It'd be a great little display piece and add something to remind you of that Rogue One scene. That was really cool. The 9th MOC on this list is the March on the Jedi Temple. This is a beautiful looking diorama. You could argue there's not much to it, it's just a bunch of stairs, but there is more to it than that. The railings actually have a very interesting technique that angle them inwards. But really the most impressive part are those statues. They look terrific. Aside from that though, you're really going to be drawn into one piece in particular, and that's of course all the clones marching up the stairs. There's some pretty good shots here that remind you of the film, and it looks great. I would love for LEGO to make an official diorama of the scene. Obviously it couldn't be this big, otherwise it'd be pretty expensive, but a smaller version of it would be nice to see. Number 8, we have someone showing off their own MOC collection. None of these appear to be their own design, but from other people, various sources that they've collected over the years. And this is quite the collection, pretty expensive. There's some really big sets in here, and MOCs in general are expensive, especially the bigger you get. Well, let's jump into them because I'm kind of interested at what all he has. The first page is obviously a Venator and an Acclimator. They look so good next to each other. Not in scale, of course, but still, really good. That Venator is pretty similar to the UCS model we have now. The Acclimator looks gorgeous. Next is the Imperial Shuttle Tidarium. Not too dissimilar from the UCS proportions, but something that is different is there seems to be a lot more greebling on the wings. Kind of makes it a little more interesting, but at the same time, I kind of enjoy the smoother look of the official sets. This turbo tank, though, is amazing. It really makes me want a UCS model from LEGO. A modded UCS ISD to have the Chimera logo on the bottom. That's a really nice touch. This next one has a dropship, which looks weirdly smooth. Obi-Wan and Anakin's Jedi Interceptors look great as well. Some more Republic and Separatist vehicles, a gunship AAT, and then even an ATTE. This Republic Y-Wing might be my favorite. It's really good looking, very smooth, very big. Those Jedi Interceptors look really cool as well. That technique they used to connect to the cockpit looks really good. Totally different from what LEGO does. I'm curious how stable that is, but it looks really good. Now these Separatist sets look really cool too. The Tri-Droid, the Vulture Droid, the Invisible Hand, and then even the Frigate. I think a midi-scale Separatist Frigate would be a great set to make. And it just keeps on going. This guy has a huge collection. A TIE Defender, a basic TIE, and then even a U-Wing. More TIE variants, a Bomber, an Interceptor, and a TIE Advanced. The TIE Advanced I think is the best out of those ones. That looks really good around the cockpit and the connection to the wings. X-Wing. The A-Wing looks like a normal playset, maybe I'm wrong. The Y-Wing has a lot of detail going on. Seems a little droopy though. And wow, finally we reached the last one, which is this B-Wing. I really wish there were some better pictures of some of these, but this B-Wing does look great from what I can tell. This one's kind of on the level of the TIE Advanced, where it's really starting to look like the model from the movie. That's quite a big collection and a pretty expensive one. I'm wondering how much that really cost him, but really cool to see. At number 7, we have what might be the best X-Wing MOC I've ever seen. There have been some great builds of this vehicle over the years from MOC Builders and LEGO themselves, but I think this could be the best one. The wings take a pretty standard approach that almost all the sets do nowadays, both MOC Builders and LEGO. Not to discredit this builder in any way, they still look good, but really I think what sells this one over some of the others I've seen is the front nose, the way that comes together with the angles and the hexagonal shape of the entire thing coming out at you. It just has a really good look to it. If I had one small gripe, it'd maybe be that the nose could have fit in a little bit better with the neck. The very, very tip of the front doesn't connect the best with the rest of the nose, but that's my only nitpick and something I had to really scrutinize on. As otherwise, it's just a beautiful build. At number 6, we have finishing the Star Wars logo. Kind of a weird post, but somehow these MOCs, I don't know, they'll make their way into this list somehow. There's not really even a caption here. I'm not sure what the point of this was, but it's a fun little way if they wanted to display the Star Wars set in a different way. It'd liven up your shelf if you added something to it like that. At number 5 is the Micro UCS Death Star. Someone recreated the new UCS Death Star in a much smaller scale. And when I say much smaller, yes, much, much smaller. This is insanely tiny. We're talking about single little round studs used for minifigures. Not every room was obviously recaptured here, but they got most of the main ones. The overall silhouette of it actually looks really cool. It makes me feel like the UCS Death Star definitely could have had more legs and done a lot better if it was just smaller, and obviously not as expensive. At number 4 is the Mashed Together Slave One MOC. The last place iterations of both these builds were identical, so this builder decided to throw them together. Kind of a neat idea. I don't think I'd do this, as I don't actually think it looks all that great once it's together, but kind of neat to see them both side by side in the most literal way possible. The third best mock in this list is a alternative build of the MTT into a Millennium Falcon. It's a midi-scale Falcon, but it's pretty well done. I think I definitely prefer the original set though. There's obviously some challenges in the alternative build of this set. I will say, for context, for some reason people love turning sets into the Millennium Falcon. If anyone's wondering why this mock made it into the list or made it so high, it's kind of become a thing, so those posts always get upvoted. I think it's kind of cool to see what people could come up with like this, but it's not always the most entertaining mock to kind of pull up and talk about. In the runner-up spot for the best mock of the month, we have a full Nebulon B frigate UCS style. This guy is wearing the perfect shirt for this picture, and it's a very good build. Like I said, UCS quality, and I'd love to see this on LEGO store shelves. The Nebulon B frigate has been one of my favorite ships from the Rebellion for quite a while. It's such a unique design, and it would pose such an interesting look LEGO-wise with its distinct proportions. I think it could make for a great build like you're seeing here. There's some amazing detailing head to toe. One thing this builder though did have to do is support those sides, because as you can tell, this isn't a very structurally sound ship. And that's no harping on them. I'm sure they did all they can. It's just the way the ship's built. I don't know if it's even possible to make it robust and stand on its own without multiple supports. This is really though a beautiful looking model. And finally, we've reached the top of this list, which is an AT-AT. But actually, it's a moving LEGO city. They took parts of different LEGO city builds and mashed them onto this AT-AT to create a very unique LEGO Star Wars mock. It somewhat reminds me of Captain Rex's AT-TE, but obviously much cooler with LEGO City. I love the police officer standing on the side. One of my favorite building details though is the very back of the AT-AT. The purple windowsill really stands out. I appreciate though that the details didn't just stop up there in the main body, they traveled all the way down, whether that's some greenery or even some baked goods on the bottom. There's even an elevator to get up and down. This is a really fun mock and the type of stuff I love to see, and why I created this series in the first place. And that's probably my favorite mock from the list anyway, so we ended perfectly at number 1 out of 15. However, what were your thoughts on this list? Let me know in the comments down below if you agree that this is number 1, or maybe was Reddit wrong? Was there other mocks on this list that should have been number 1? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Like and subscribe for more, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.